Today we are here to discuss agribusiness in East Africa. We are joined with Brian Oenga, who is the president of African operations for the HSBS group, Scot Vaver, who is the CEO, and David Hackel, who is the president of the North American operations. Brian, we'll start with you with the first question. So I understand that you are bringing agribusiness to East Africa. Can you describe the process for this a little bit and also your goals?
Well, thank you so much, Emma, for having us this afternoon. The HSBS group, as you just mentioned, is a group that is engaging the communities in Africa and also America. And our mantra is to create positive social change. And so we've been doing this for a couple of years, and we started some programs in Africa where we engage the community, the universities, and young people, and we want to empower them through our programs. We have the mentoring program and many other wonderful programs. So we also thought of having conferences through which we can voice the current issues, such as the one that is in Kenya right now about food security. And we have had three annual conferences in a row. This coming month will be the third one, and we chose the theme of agribusiness and cooperatives. And the last year we had a theme business and IT, and our very first conference, which was held at Strathmore University, was themed as Africa is Rising.
Okay.
Yes.
Can you elaborate a little bit more on the goals then with the agribusiness?
Yeah, there are quite many, Emma. We have this, taking place next month on 15th and 16th of June in Mombasa.
Yeah.
And we expect various delegates from all quarters, from the government side, the student side, the new entrepreneur side, and the industry itself, the farmers. It's all the stakeholders, and the cooperative as well, because it's themed as agribusiness and cooperatives.
Okay.
The main goals that we are looking for or to achieve, one will be, first of all, to add voice to ongoing discussions about food security in Africa and in Kenya in particular. Because if you read news of current, Kenya is reading from a lot of need on food. Many families are really struggling because of food prices, and it's because of maybe not very proper farming, practices, where we depend on natural rain, and because rain failed, and plus other many other factors, then there was not much enough that are actually, so people are actually suffering as we speak. And therefore, the HSBS group thought it would be wise to add some voice to the ongoing debate. That's one advantage that we are going to bring people on the table to discuss these issues, to avoid occurrences in the future. Number two, because we do a mentoring program, we expect to use this opportunity to engage young people who may be interested in agribusinesses, and of course, kind of connect them to various stakeholders as well, and then mentor them through the process so that they can participate in the process. And while doing that, we want to change their mindset, their attitude, because young people think that agriculture is not for me. But actually, in Africa, because it really adds a lot of value in terms of the GDP, I think agriculture plays a big role. And therefore, the more young people get engaged, the better for Kenya and for Africa. Number three, we want to bring a debate of people working together in groups through what we call as cooperatives. In this way, you can then, reap from the economies of scale. You can have more, more creative programs together, and then it will be cheaper for them to actually even market their produce. Talking about marketing, of agricultural produce, as the research has it, is that there's a lot of food wastage in Africa and across the world, by the way, where the food that we have already grown goes to waste. Part of it is because the food is not supplied where it's needed, and therefore systems need to be created on how to do the supply chain in this kind of area. And then number three, next to that, we also want to see how we can add value. So that's number four reason. Engage the government and other stakeholders, maybe investors who could add value together with farmers, right from the farming angle. And then of course lastly, we want to see how we can bring entrepreneurs who could then partner with young people in terms of engaging in that particular front as well. So there are many goals that we're looking for, but overall is to engage people in a positive social change and by creating some economic empowerment to people.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, thank you, Brian.
Thank you very much.
Yep. Next question is for Scott. Okay, Scott. So Brian mentioned making a voice for the people and explaining what the issues are, as well as engaging the younger people and getting them interested in agribusiness there. HSBS is known for creating social positive changes. How do these align with those goals, and how do you see agribusiness going in the future?
Well, thank you, Emma, for the question. I think when I look at this, especially from engaging the younger people, I look at our agribusiness structure and what we're looking to accomplish. So when we looked at this business and we looked specifically at Africa, we looked at what the problems are, what are the problems going on, and one of them was food, and really a lack of understanding of business and how we're going to distribute things, how we even grow the food necessarily to get opportunities. And there's a lot of waste of food in Africa, and that's something we wanted to address. So what we worked with is we have multiple different offices involved, but right now we're looking at Uganda, Kenya, and Tanzania. And we have acreage in each of those countries. And what we're doing is we're training young farmers to develop good farming habits, good agricultural habits. And so what we do is we've partnered with microfinancers on one end, and then we're sort of in the middle, and we partnered with Kissy University for farming know-how, and then Cooperative University for the business side of farming, which is something that's been overlooked. And so we train farmers in our fields, and then we help them acquire acreage, maybe 1 or 2 or 3 acres, and then the microfinancers will help these farmers financially. And what we're looking at really is to create a climate of sustainability, which goes along with our positive social change focus. So there's really 2 things there. 1, we want to feed people. That isn't happening. 2, we want to create an environment where the farmers themselves can create something more than just a 1 or 2 acre farm. In the past, what people would do is they simply would go to the roadsides, sell their maize or whatever they were growing right there on the road. And they thought about, how am I going to feed my family today? They didn't really think about how am I going to feed my family next week, or when it's maybe not a growing season or whatever. So we're trying to get past that. So with the cooperative movement, we're looking at joining maybe 30 or 50 or 100 different farmers together to sell their produce, whatever they have, in a more reputable market in a city or a market square. And it gives an opportunity then for farmers to start reaping the benefits of agriculture, not as an individual, but as a collective unit. So it's a cooperative movement, and Cooperative University helps with this. Also, you had mentioned helping students, or young people or anyone achieve their goals. And one of the big industries in East Africa is agriculture, and many folks do struggle to achieve their goals in agriculture because they don't have training. They don't have the financial backing. They don't have the marketplaces. But even more important, they don't have the follow-up. And something that's happened that we have found to create the sustainability is very, very important, that we have HSBS managers, which we do have managers in place now, that can work with farmers in the field, not only when they're training, but after they're done with training, for a number of years to make sure that they have good practices in place that they continue to utilize, and it becomes a habit. If we want to change behavior, we have to make it become the new habit. So this follow through is really become a very big part of this, and helping the folks, young or old, become more effective in this industry.
All right. Right.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Scott.
You know, I'll mention one other thing
Okay.
too, and I would be remiss if I didn't. Farming has changed, and what we've seen in the past is we go to the field, we plow, we plant, maybe water, we harvest, we sell, but we left out business. And what's changed with this is the whole information technology side of this, and so we want to also introduce good practices of business that utilize the information technology channels that are available not only in East Africa, but help maybe East Africa grow and become even more technological savvy as it permits. So that's another avenue that we really want to kind of hit on here, is to catch up to the 21st century farming concepts of business.
Yeah.
So,
All right. Well, thank you, Scott.
very good.
All right, David. Agribusiness, it looks like it's going to be making a huge impact in the future. What role do you think information technologies will be playing in this?
So thank you very much for that question, Emma. As Scott was mentioning, information technology is pretty much the foundation that's going to be required in these co-ops. And that's because in order to bring these groups of people together, they're going to have to be able to collaborate and share this information that they're gathering.
Yeah.
And along with that is the education side. How do we get that information to the students or people that have graduated and continue to give them valuable information? And that way they have real-time growing information, historical information, and with that HSBS has these systems in place, and we work together and be able to provide farmers through, say, they have internets, SMS, a number of different strategies where we can provide them with that information. Another key aspect is the finance portion of it, being able to pay people appropriately. You have payroll, you have HR related, being able to basically bring all the pool of people together and be able to create efficiencies. We have the marketing side, of course. Paper and pencil just isn't going to cut it anymore. So creative marketing strategies will need to be put into place, and of course along with that is being able to deliver that message to people, whether it's through advertising, digital media, kiosks in certain places. All of those different scenarios HSBS is a part of. So there's plenty of opportunities for information technology to provide the value add-on that's needed in order to increase sales for people, and be able to basically get those co-ops, and as Scott had mentioned before, stop thinking about just today and be able to think about in the future and be able to plan for the future. So.
Yeah. All right, thank you guys. That was Scott, David, and Brian from HSBS Group, and thank you for joining us today, and good luck with everything in future endeavors.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Emma.
Thank you.
Right.